I hear dinosaurs. I see dinosaurs. So what's that got to do with anything, right? So just having some fun here. But hey, the point is that 10 weeks ago, started a podcast, and the podcast was based on the market changing, the market shifting. And I thought, hey, I'll do a podcast for a few weeks while we're going through COVID. And at the time, I'm like, hey, things are going to come back to normal. We'll be in good shape. We'll be cool. And the bottom line is that the new normal, I don't know when that's going to come. It keeps on shifting. I don't know if things will ever return to the normal that we knew. So there's a lot of transitioning things going on. There's a lot of change going on. And just like that meteor, if you believe in that theory, that hit the earth and ended up being the driving force that made the dinosaurs extinct, we had a meteor hit us, and it's called the pandemic, right? So if you're not changing and you're not thinking about how to change, you're going to become a dinosaur, plain and simple. So the idea of this podcast today is to talk about some things that I'm personally trying to do and just share it with you, and hopefully that will help. It doesn't mean I have all the answers. They're just ideas and concepts I thought I'd share today in my podcast. So first and foremost, we're transitioning at home right now still, right? There's a lot of frustration with that, with people, I know. Frustration with myself sometimes, but we are transitioning out a little bit. We're getting out to see customers now. We're starting to communicate depending on the accounts and what's going on with that particular manufacturer, that particular account, right? Your guidelines. First and foremost, just like I said in that first podcast, Goya, you got to get off your butt. You got to keep moving. In my world, 7:30 a.m., I'm either on the street or at this desk working every day. I think what you need to do every day is analyze your time. Are you utilizing your time effectively? Should you be in that long meeting, or you should be embracing customers? Should you be looking at a webinar, or should you be embracing customers? Maybe that webinar is really important, but then a customer calls. Customers first. A lot of those webinars are recorded, and you can watch them on non-prime time. But I do watch some of them that I really feel are very particular to me and important to me. So again, I'm managing my time and I'm picking my spots. One of the most important things, this is really what I focus on is today, is I think it's really important for personal development. You need to, I call it the PD. I have my list over here, like I showed you, I think that first week, I have my list. Personal development. So I'm challenging myself every week to personally develop. So for instance, I listen to podcasts. So I listen to Motley Fool. I listen to Bill Caskey. I listen to Joe Rogan. Who else am I going to listen to? So now I'm challenging myself and saying every week I need to try and find another podcast just for 15 minutes to listen to it, to get a different perspective, a different view, right? I'm reading the Harvard Business Review. Starting to read this. So here's one here. It's How to Lead in a Time of Crisis, right? So it talks about adaptive leadership. So our leaders have to adapt. As salespeople, or as a salesperson, I have to adapt. I have to adapt for myself. I have to adapt for my customers' needs and requirements. I have to adapt for my customers' needs and my company's needs and requirements. So we have to adapt. One of the ways I'm adapting is I'm keying in on spending time on LinkedIn. I think fellow salespeople, regional managers, customers, leaders should be engaged in LinkedIn. What am I seeing in LinkedIn right now, for instance? I'm seeing movement of people. So the business is shifting. Certain customers are getting busy. Some customers are not as busy. So where are those engineers or those techs or those maintenance people going, right? They're shifting, or those leaders. They're shifting to other companies because those companies are busy or they have major drivers going on. I think it's really important to update your technology. So I picked up a Snowball a couple weeks ago. Why? Because now it's crisper. I picked up a webcam last week for my IT person. Why? Because I'm doing video podcasts, and quite frankly, I don't want that going on. I want a crisp clear picture. If you're going to be in team meetings, what the heck? It's a $50, $60 investment, or your company will probably get you one. Get a webcam. I updated my PowerPoint on my overview Eastern Controls PowerPoint. So when I see customers, and I saw a customer last week, and we met at a picnic bench. So I had my iPad with me. It's real crisp. It's quick. I don't have to wait for my laptop to boot up. And I actually pulled up a number of slides on Eastern Controls and was going through several things. And when I met with that leader, it was interesting because, we had a great meeting at the picnic bench. And we talked about his pain with level. He has a manufacturer he's using for level right now. They've been using for years. And said, you know what? I'm just having some issues there. So we started talking about Endress and Hauser. I engaged Bill Shillette, our product manager, after the meeting. He shared with me that he's having some technical challenges and some support challenges in pH with a particular manufacturer. So we talked about Endress and Hauser and their breadth of their product line and how we can help them with the pH challenges they're having. He has a major project coming up that he's going to need control valves. Again, he's working with somebody else right now, has been for years, but he said, you know what? I'm just not getting the attention and support there, and I'd like to consider someone else. So I talked about Mason Nealon and our $3 to $4 million inventory in our position, which we've mentioned on several of these podcasts. So again, having that little PowerPoint on my iPad and the visual was very helpful at the picnic bench, right? We talked about MSA gas detection as well in that meeting. And even though I had the X5000, I couldn't plug it in. It still was a way for me to open the box, let them see that Ultima X5000 because they're going to need to migrate to the X5000. Talk with your peers. We get direction from management top down, and that's great. But I find that talking with my peers is very helpful. So find your peers that are going to be helpful to you, and you can share concepts and ideas, and you can trust in those concepts and ideas. And then where's the future of this podcast going, right? Is this going to become a dinosaur? I don't think so. When I started this podcast, about, like I said, 10 weeks ago, it was like, okay, where's this going to go? I thought it would last a few weeks and then go away. But there's a lot of momentum going on with this podcast, and I'm getting a lot of great feedback from customers, from my peers, from leadership. People are watching this. There's executive leaders watching this. There's project managers watching this, project engineers watching this, maintenance managers watching this, techs watching this, maintenance storeroom folks watching this. It's across the board, purchasing, buyers, people in my company as well, right? So people outside the company, that are tied in with us for principals and such. So where's this going to go? There's going to be a seminar coming up or session coming up on how to communicate in today's environment. There's going to be interviews coming up. The interviews are really popular. I'm going to be interviewing executive leadership. Going to be interviewing some more customers. I have a customer who just got approved by HR. Is going to be coming on. By the way, if you're a customer watching this and you want to get on the podcast, let's have a conversation. They're recorded. We check them out. We kind of edit them. We make sure that everything's okay. But why not share some of your success with the folks out there? And going to have product managers coming up. Again, product managers are going to talk about, hey, how they became a product manager and their background, and then talk about what they're really passionate about. I think that's a great story, and it's a lot of interest to the folks out there, the customer base that are watching this podcast. So, hey, that wraps up today. Just wanted to fill everybody in. Moving forward, have a great day. Don't become a dinosaur. Change, adapt, keep moving. And if any of those points I talked about today, if you want to speak with me personally, just give me a call. I'll be glad to talk with you and share with you personally what I'm doing. Happy to help. Keep those thumbs up coming. See you next week.